Hi all, I'm Chris, and welcome to this two-player run-through of the board game Roll for Adventure, published by Cosmos and designed by Matthew Dunstan and Brett J. Gilbert. Fate lies in your hand. The Old Kingdom is in danger. Enemy armies are attacking from every direction, sent by the Master of Shadows, who seeks to cast eternal darkness across the land. You must band together to collect the fabled power stones needed to save the kingdom. If you succeed, you'll save the kingdom and win the game. However, should even one territory fall under the control of the Master of Shadows, you will lose the kingdom to darkness. With many heroes, a variable board, and increasing difficulty, this cooperative dice fantasy game offers you exciting challenges again and again. And with that, let's get to the table. First thing we need to do is set out the game board in the central play area. The game board is divided into 4 separate territories. We have the fortress, the desert, the ice cave and the forest. All of these sections are double-sided. We have an A side and a B side. For your first few games, it's recommended to play on the easier side, the A side, which we will be doing today. Next, we'll set out the card holder. This is going to be where our enemies are going to be launching from. Now, normally we would be setting these out on each of the 4 corners of the board, but just for convenience for the run through, just going to set these off to the side here. We also have the Vortex of Resurrection that can go there as well. And lastly, our storage chest. Now, each territory has a damage track that runs along the bottom. Going to be taking these very awesome little skull markers and placing it on the far left slot of each territory. On the fortress tile, we're just going to be taking these little barriers and placing them in the 3 allocated sections down the bottom. Likewise, on the forest tile, we're going to just take this barrier tile and just place that on the first of the 4 barriers. Next, we pick our adventure board. Our adventure board will dictate the difficulty of the game, as it tells us how many crystals we will need to capture to win. You have the option from 5 to 8. We'll pick the intermediate board of the Sword of Saints, which is going to require 6 crystals to win. And we'll just set that off to the side down here. Because we've chosen the Sword of Saints, we're next going to add our 6 crystals that we will be going for during the game, and we just add it over here to our chest. Now, the game comes with a large variety of hero tiles, so giving you a lot of variety, but for your first run through, they do recommend just playing with the 4 introductory characters. So we'll put these extras back to the box. And we're going to be playing with one of these 4 here. Either the warrior, the fighter, the healer or the adventurer. So we'll just give these a bit of a shuffle and deal 2 randomly to our 2 players. Okay, we have the adventurer and we have the healer. Just for convenience, we'll just put our 2 hero tiles just up here. If we have a bit of a closer look at our 2 main characters, both have a special ability that we're going to be able to go over during the game. We'll just have a look at that. So our healer, once per turn, may temporarily forfeit one of their dice to reduce damage to 1 territory. We place the forfeited dice on his player board, and you may not use it again in that turn. Then roll your remaining die. Now, the adventurer also has an ability they can use once per turn, whereas they may roll all of your newly rolled dice 1 more time. The new roll applies and you must re-roll all of the dice. So normally you would roll the die and you would have to accept the results of that one, but the adventurer has the ability, once per turn we can re-roll them. Next, we'll give the adventurers their 5 starting die. We'll give the healer the green, and we will give the adventurer the yellow. We'll just put that up near their cards for the time being. Of course, we're playing a 2-player game. They're also going to get 2 ally die each. So in this case, we'll give the adventurer 2 blue and we'll give the healer 2 red. Next, all players will receive a turn order card in the colour of their character. We're going to hand out the 4 bonus grey dice to the Ice Cave section of the board. And finally, we're going to take the monster cards themselves. We're going to take the deck of the 24 monster cards. Now, the game also comes with additional monsters that once you become proficient in the base game and you want to increase the difficulty, you can seed those other monsters into the deck. But we're just starting with the base deck for this introductory game. So we're going to deal these 24 cards into 3 even decks of 8 cards each. Next, we're going to take the Master of Shadows cards itself, the main villain of the game, and we're going to place him in one of the decks. We also have a handy reminder card of the Master of Shadows, in that when he does appear, it gives us a breakdown of all his actions. So we'll just put that to the side for the time being. Now with our 3 decks, we're just going to stack them just over here to the right on the monster deck. Now we put 1 deck at the bottom. The deck containing the Master Shadows himself goes in the middle of the 3. So we're just going to put that next, and finally the last deck we just place on top. We also have a territory dice. Now this dice will only apply for the Master of Shadows, so we just need to keep that nice and handy, and we'll just put that off to the side there. And that's set up. Now we're ready to begin. So in Roll for Adventure, as we said, it is a cooperative game. What the heroes are trying to do is they're trying to capture these 6 crystals and remove them from this chest to our guide here. Once we've done so, we win the game. The Master of Shadows is defeated. Now that is our one and only win criteria, whereas the Master of Shadows has 2 criteria for us to lose the game. If at any point in time one of these skulls makes its way to the final position on its area, that area is lost, we lose the game. Also, at any point on a turn, no hero has any dice available to roll because they're all allocated to spots on the board, or they've been captured in this vortex. We also lose the game. So with that, let's get things started. So on your turn, first thing we're going to do is roll the die. The adventurer is going to go first, player 2. It's just going to roll our die here. Now, any same numbers we can allocate to the board to different spots, and we'll quickly just go over our options available. So if we were to roll any lots of 1s, we have 1 in this roll, we can add it to the desert space. We're going to be building up 3 1s, at which point they're going to push across, or 1 is going to push across, the others are going to go back to the players themselves. If we can fill the second row, another one's going to push across and go into this section here. That die is then captured for the remainder of the game. It's lost, but we will win one of the crystals, and we can then start again to try and work our way through that board. The fortress is going to accept rolls of 2, 3 and 4. We need 4 of each kind to unlock these barriers here. Once all 3 barriers are unlocked, we can claim these spots back and claim a crystal and start again with the fortress. Same kind of principle with the forest. 5s and 6s. We need to run the 5s and 6s up to this barrier, at which point that barrier will move to the next spot. We'll gain a crystal and then we can start again. So it's going to take further and further to get. Now there are 3 areas which let us capture crystals. The Ice Cave is something a little bit different. We can place any single die on this row here. Now we've got to decide what we want to do during the course of the game. If at any point you have 4 dice placed across this row here, you can claim those dice back, and also anyone that's contributed to that row will gain an extra die for a one-off roll on their next turn. If we persist and go to 5 possible dice across this roll, we get the additional die and we can kill an enemy that may be threatening the board. And finally, if we can get all 6 across there, we get both the preceding abilities of a die, an enemy, but we also manage to push back a skull on any territory that may be under danger of collapsing. So with that, we look at the adventurer's first roll. The adventurer has rolled 2 6s, a 5, a 1, 2, 3 and a 4. So at this point we're going to take advantage of the fact they've rolled a double 6. So we're going to place the 2 6s in the forest area. We then re-roll. We've got another 6. Makes sense to push on with this 6 here. We roll again. We've got a 5. So as we said, 5s and 6s are accepted along there. We add another die to the forest area. Only 2 more die left and we can capture that first crystal. Okay, terrific. Another 5. So we add that to the forest. We roll again. A 4 and a 3. So now we've got to decide which way we want to go with this. Being the first turn of the game, we don't really know what's going to happen at this point in time. So what we might do, we might just throw a 3 just on the ice cave in the hope that if we do get caught early, we might have something here to get an extra die or take care of an enemy. Last roll for the adventurer. And they get a 6, which was perfect. So in that turn, the adventurer managed to make their way right round on the forest. They've reached the barrier, which then pushes that barrier to the next spot. We claim our first crystal, which goes to our Sword of Saints player board. And we're down to only needing 5 for the game. Now, because we've made it to the end of that barrier, these dice are then returned back to the adventurer. Whereas the 3 is placed and will not be claimed back until that section is completed. That's the end of the adventurer's turn. At the end of each player's turn, we're going to reveal the top card of the monster deck. So we do so now, and it's a Sand Devil. Now, as we'll see, first things we do, we'll assess the drawn card to other enemy cards that are on the board. But as it's the first turn of the game, we have no other enemies, so the Sand Devil's going to act itself. So it's going to come down to this area here, its matching area. Now what the Sand Devil tells us is any yellow cards or desert cards are going to require us to give up a 1. We don't have any 1s available, and that then means the area does take a damage. That's the end of player 1's turn. Player 2, the healer. Roll the die again. Oh, so we have rolled 6 6s. So we're going to allocate all of those to the forest area. Leaves us with 1 die left. And we get a 3. Now, we can't use this 3 again to place it on the ice cave because 3's already taken. So that leaves only 1 available spot to us, and that's the fortress. So we have to go there. Unfortunately, that ties up all of the healer's die. So on his turn, he may not have any dice to roll, and he will just have to draw an enemy on his turn and forgo rolling any die. We can only hope that player 2, the adventurer, manages to roll a 5 or a 6 to complete that area and get his die back to him. So we're going to reveal an enemy, and it's a White Wolf. White Wolf is also a level 1. Once we get a higher card than these level 1 cards, that will take effect, because what's going to happen, once we reveal the card, first things do, we see if they command other cards on the board. What I mean by that is each card has a strength number up the top. If that number is higher than any of the cards on the board, those cards will trigger. In this case, 2 1s, it's not going to happen, so the White Wolf will just come to his area himself, the ice cave, and trigger himself. What he's going to do, he's going to take one die from highest to lowest. So we don't have anything higher than a 3, but he will take the 3. Now dice captured by enemies are going to go to this central vortex. This opens up another possibility for us during the course of the game. We have this vortex of resurrection. If at any point we have 10 points or more of dice on the vortex of resurrection, that will unlock any dice trapped in the middle of the board. When you do place dice on the vortex of the resurrection though, it ends your turn. So you've got to weigh up how much you do commit to that, but that's another thing we need to keep in mind. Also, while we're going about extra options for the game, having enemies on the board now offers an option as well. If at any point you can place die on an enemy of 6 or higher, that enemy will be destroyed. Now you can do that as a one-off die yourself and place a 6 on there, or you could do a combination of die. On your first roll you may place a 5, you may place a 2 on your second and kill that enemy, or you may even place one of your die on there, leave it, and the next player can contribute and kill that enemy. But we're back to the adventurer's roll. Okay, luckily enough we did score a 6, so we're going to place our 6 on the board. That completes that section, so it pushes the barrier one space further. We claim our second crystal, and those dice are all returned to the main characters, which the healer or player 1 is very thankful of, otherwise they would have had nothing to roll on their next turn. So the adventurer takes back their 6. We roll our remaining 5 dice. Again, we've got 2 6s, but this path is getting further and further along. If we want to reach the barrier, we would need 8, either 5s or 6s, combination thereof, to get to the second last barrier and unlock another crystal. These 1s enemies are a threat to us at this point in time, simply because chances of a higher ranking enemy coming out are very high. So what player 2, the adventurer, will do is use one of their 6s. Now you can only place die on one enemy on your turn, so they'll place on the white wolf. Okay, we roll our 4 die. So we got a 1, a 4, a 5, a 3. We don't want player 1's 3 to be wrapped up here for too long. While we've got a 3, we'll help and we'll contribute towards that 3. So we'll roll our rest of our die. We get another 3, a 4 and a 6. While we're helping here, we'll add another 3 to that roll there. Roll our 2. We got a 5 and a 2. At this point in time, what player 2, the adventurer, may do is use their special ability. So once per turn they can re-roll these die, and that's what they'll do, because ideally what they would like would be a 6, which they could kill the second monster and then have a second or a last die to roll. They could allocate both of these to the Sand Devil straight away and beat it, but they'd like the ability to get another roll because they could possibly finish off the fortress's final 3. So we're going to roll these last 2 as part of their special ability, and we get 2 5s. So that presents the option. The only thing we could do with 2 5s is to go down here back on the forest, but at this point we're not committed to do that, so it's overkill, but we'll place those 2 die on the Sand Devil more than killing him. So these dice are returned back to player 2. Both of these enemies are destroyed, and we're going to draw a new enemy card, and we get the Crypt Spirit. So lucky we did kill those 2 enemies, otherwise being a level 2 creature it would have triggered both of those before it triggers itself. At this point only it is going to trigger. It's going to come out to the board. Now it requires a 2, a 3 and then a 4. We don't have a 2, we do have a 3, we don't have a 4. So it will take one of our 3s and push it to the vortex. Now, even though it requires 3 dice, as long as we've got one of them, we will not suffer a wound to the area. Back to player 1, the healer. Managed to get 2 2s with his dice roll. So he's going to start the 2 2s in this section. Go again. Okay, worked good. We've got 2 3s. That's going to complete this area here. So that's going to unlock that barrier. Got our next roll. A 5 and a 4. I should say, we need to remove this straight away, because you may decide to put more dice on there, even though the barrier will be removed. So we will take care of that straight away. We'll return the 3 die back to the healer, 1 back to the adventurer, and we remove that. Okay, so now we've got the placement of this 4 and the 5. We've got 2 dice locked up in the central vortex. We could place those over at the vortex of resurrection, at which point player 2 is only going to have to contribute 1 point to the vortex to possibly unlock. But I think player 1 instead will take his 5 and add it to the ice cave, giving them 1 more roll. And they get a 1. Okay, we'll take that 1. We could put that on the ice cave as well, or on the vortex. But at this point in time, let's start making a bit of headway on the desert space. We're going to reveal the card. It's a tree strike, a level 1. Because it's a level 1, it's not going to fire off the crypt spirit, but it itself will come over to the board and attack. And it requires that you remove a 5 and a 6. We've got nothing there, so we will take a wound to that territory. Player 2, the adventurer, rolls a die. Bit of a mixed bag, but we've got 3 2s. We are definitely going to use 2 of them on that space there. So that unlocks the second barrier. The 2 red can return back to player 1. These are used for player 2. We'll just put them to the side, and they've got their 3 die left to go. Okay, another 2 1s. Perfect. So they're going to add to the desert space. They're going to use their 1s. Now at this point in time, we need to decide which one of these gets pushed forward. The other 2 are going to be removed back to the player. If we look here, player 2, the adventurer, has got 2 dice trapped in the middle of the board. So player 1 is in a better position. So player 1 will advance their die, and the adventurer will reclaim both of theirs back to them. Final die roll, and we roll a 3. I think at this point in time, player 2 will add the 3 to the ice cave. Okay, that's the end of player 2's turn. We're going to draw our creature, and we've got a cave troll. Now it's a 2, so the crypt spirit being equal will not trigger, but the tree strike will. There's still no die here, so we will take a wound, and then the cave troll will come over to the cave. Again, ice monsters require to take a die from the highest to the lowest, which means we lose our 5 to the center of the board. Okay, back to player 1, the healer. So we've got a nice mixture here. Player 1's going to put his number 1 die on here and hope we can get the 1 further across. Going to re-roll the 4 die. Two, 3, 4, and 5. I think we'll put a 5 on the ice cave at this point in time. Great. Alright, so this is a bit of a dilemma now. We've rolled a 1, a 6, and a 2. We need the 1 to encourage this one here, but we do have a 6 which could kill one of these creatures. It is early days. We're only taking minimal damage at this point in time. If something attacks the desert, we do have a 1 die there for them to take. What we might do, as much as he'd love to kill one of these creatures, the prospect of getting another gem early is too much, so he will place his 1 on that spot there. Roll these 2 die. And luckily enough, we did roll another 6. So he's going to take that opportunity to kill that tree strike. Last roll. And we got a 3. Now, only option available to him at this time is he could place it over here in the fortress, but we've cleared that spot. Ideally we want 4s. He could add it to one of the other enemies in the game, and at that point the second player would only have to contribute another 3 to defeat it. Or, as we've got quite a few die now trapped in the middle of the board, he could place that back over here to the vortex, at which point the player 2 would only need to contribute 7. It is going to leave him with no dice at this point, unless player 2 can possibly roll a 1. I think he'll add that 3 at this point, just to the Crypt Spirit. We draw an enemy card, and it's a giant scorpion. So it's a level 2. So the tree strike, we should have removed that because he did kill the tree strike during the game. Otherwise the tree strike would have activated. But the Crypt Spirit and the Cave Troll don't. They're all level 2. So the giant scorpion comes out. Now luckily, player 1 had contributed to that. It requires a 1 removed. It goes to the center of the board. Okay, player 2. Down to only 4 dice at this point. We really need to get these dice back. So that may be the priority for this roll. Now, if player 2 committed that 5 straight away, that would automatically end their turn. Any contributions to this vortex ends the turn immediately. So they've got to weigh up, is that what they want to do, or do they want to contribute more? I think they will instead commit a 2 over to this ice cave, hoping we can get another die or get enough dice on there to get one of these other later benefits. They're going to re-roll their 3 die. Alright, that's too good of an opportunity to pass up. Even though it's only their second die roll, they do have 3 dice available to them. They're going to commit their 2 5s to the vortex. And that then unlocks all the die that have so far been trapped. So these go back to player 1, and these and the ones they've just committed back to the adventurer, and that ends their turn. We draw a replacement enemy, Vampire Bats. So it's only a level 1, doesn't trip any other monsters, but we now have 2 creatures. I'll just move these dice off to the player mat itself. 2 creatures up in the fortress, a 1 and a 2. Now, there's no die there to collect for the Vampire Bats, so the territory will take a damage. Back to player 1. Player 1's only got the 3 die at this point because all his other die are tied up on the board. 2 2s and a 1. Has to commit the 1 to here in the hope of advancing that. Seeing we lost 1 to the scorpion earlier. We'll re-roll. We got a 6 and a 1, so there's another 1. A 6 would be great to kill one of these enemies because we are suffering at this point in time, but you're going to get no better opportunity than this. Player 1's going to commit another 1 to here, thus moving another die over. These 2 come back to player 1 themselves, and we've got 1 die left to roll, and we get a 5. Now our only option for 5 is the forest or the vortex or one of these creatures. We have 2 attacking the fortress at this point in time, so it's overkill. He's going to put the 5 and add that basically to his other earlier placed die. He'll claim both of those back, which is a bonus, thus killing the Crypt Spirit and reducing the threat there. We draw a monster card, and it's the Tree Strike. So no enemies on the board will fire, the Tree Strike comes back out, and again chips away at the forest. We're losing a lot of wounds on the forest, and that's something we need to address quickly. Player 2's turn, the adventurer. Gonna roll the dice. Alright. So we've got a couple of 6s, and I think it's time we try and cull these enemies as much as possible. So player 2 is going to place a 6 on the tree strike, thus killing it outright straight away. And as we said before, even though we do have another 6, we can only attack one enemy per turn, or per roll, as the case may be. Luckily, we did get another 6, so we'll take out the bats as well. Third roll, and we get another 6. And we'll take out the scorpion. Okay, a 2 and a 4. We need that last barricade taken out, so player 2 will start on that for the 4, and we've got a final roll, and we get another 6. Now I've got 2 options with this 6. We can kill the cave troll, or we can add it to here and hope to build up more of a combination there, which I think player 2 will do, because the cave troll being a level 2, there is less chance that it's going to fire during a turn, so we will put out the 6 onto that. That's done. We reclaim our die from these fallen enemies, or go to the enemy discard, and we're going to draw a replacement. Okay, the Black Knight, right on cue. What we said chances were slim does happen. It's a strength 3, which means the cave troll now fires. We lose the 6 that we just placed. Now the Black Knight's going to come out to the board itself and trigger. It's going to require a 2, a 3, or a 4. It takes our 4. But at least we had the die there to protect the territories. Okay, back to player 1, the healer. He's got his 4 die to roll. Okay, quite a few 1s. We got 2 1s in this roll. Needs to get those 1s happening. We're going to roll our remaining 2, and we get another 1. Okay, so he's going to push one of his die forward, claim the 2 that contributed, and now we've filled that second spot, so we now get to commit even 1 further. That die is now lost to us for the game. He will claim his other 2 1s, but we have unlocked another crystal. So we're halfway there. We have 3 of the 6 crystals, and we can only hope we can get there in time. He has 1 die left to roll. He gets a 4, which he will contribute back to this final barrier in the hope we can get that unlocked. That's the end of his turn. We're going to draw an enemy, and we get a Sand Devil. So doesn't trip either of the other enemies, but will activate itself. There's no 1 to play. It takes a skull further. Back to the adventurer, player 2. Now player 2's only got 3 dice at this point. They've got a couple held up here, and they've also got 2 trapped in the vortex. So let's roll these. We get a 3, a 4, and a 6. I think for this first roll, player 2 will take out the cave troll. We'll just re-roll. We got a 2 and a 3. Now ideally they would have loved to contribute here and possibly get another die, or get another 2 die onto this spot, either a 1, a 4, and a 6, and get the section option available to them. So they may use their ability. So once per turn they can re-roll. We'll re-roll these. And we got a 4 and a 2. So that worked out good. We'll place the 4. Now they've got the option now. They've reached that first area. If they so wanted, they could reclaim those die and take. But they've got to make that decision at the end of their turn. Or they push on and try and get 5 or 6. They got 1 die left to go. They roll a 2. Unfortunately, the 2's not much good to us. All it can possibly do is go towards defeating an enemy, or go to the vortex and hope someone else adds an additional 8. It would be pointless adding it over to here because they're going to take the 4 anyhow, and we've got the 4 to protect the fortress. So the desert area is getting a lot of threat now. We've got no die there to protect it, so they'll just add it to that character. And that's the end of player 2's turn. We reveal and we get a Crypt Spirit. Unfortunately, the Sand Devil is going to fire. There's no die there for it to take. It moves along. The Crypt Spirit comes out. We now have 2 enemies at the fortress. It's going to fire and it's going to commit our 4 into the center of the board. So we seem to be cursed not to be able to get that 4. So let's see how this next turn rolls. Player 1. Now we haven't used player 1's ability. Before a roll, he can commit one of these die to an area on the board that during that point in his turn will not get attacked by any enemies. But I think we'll roll all 4 at this point. Okay. So we've got a 2, 2 3s and a 5. It would have been great to grab either one of these. I think at this point in time he will just add a 5 onto the Sand Devil, thus killing him from the game. Reroll the die. A 1, a 5 and a 4. So we got the 1. I think he'll contribute his 1 over here to this rack and hope he gets a 6. Reroll. We got a 4 and a 2. Oh, one thing we didn't do, just an amendment. We didn't remove the Cave Troll before the last turn. So he's no longer a threat there. We've got the 6. And he'll place those 6 straight onto the Crypt Spirit and kill the Crypt Spirit. So that's the end of his turn. We return our die to our characters. The Sand Devil and Crypt Spirit were both killed. And we do a new enemy, the Ice Monster. Lucky we did get rid of those last enemies. Being a 3, it would have triggered all the enemies on the board. But at this point in time, the Black Knight is equal. It won't trip. So we made the right call. It's going to come down here and it's going to commit our 5 to the center of the board. Alright. Player 2 only has 2 dice available to them. So they would love to do something here or claim the vortex to get some of these dice back to them. They're going to re-roll. So we've got a 6. We've got a 4 and a 2. But they're going to use their ability to re-roll. Hope to get a 5 or a 6. And they got a 6. So they're going to commit the 6 to there. And I think what they will do, they will now trigger that ability. As much as they'd love to see if they got a 5, it's just going to be too hard at this point. It'd be much better to get extra die back to them and a bonus die and also kill a monster. It'd be fantastic to be able to push one of our skulls back, but we're really under the gun at this point. So with the placement of that tile, they will claim one of these, the first 2 bonuses. So first things, both players have contributed to this area, so they will take their own die back. They both get an additional die to roll on their next turn, which is a one-off, and we get to kill 1 monster. At this point in time, we'll get rid of the Black Knight because it's done a bit more damage to that section than what the Ice Cave, which has taken no damage at this point. Okay, done that. We've got 1 more roll. We get a 6. Now with that 6, we could kill the Ice Monster outright, or we could contribute towards the 10. And I think we'll contribute towards the 10 at this point. That way, player 1 only needs to put a 4, or if it comes back around to player 2, likewise, and that will unlock these dice. Okay, we reveal our enemy. Vampire Bats, level 1, won't trip the Ice Monster, comes out, and we've got no dice to offer it. It will advance the skull. Off to player 2. Oh, no, back to player 1, I should say. Now, player 1's happy. He's now got... These go there. That extra die to roll during his turn, so he's got 5 die to roll. And again, it's a one-off though. Now, we've got 3 2s, which isn't much good to us over here. We need 4s. We did get 1 4. Now, if we committed that 4 straight to the vortex, that would end our turn. We do have a 6, so we'll put the 6 on the vampire bat and kill the bat and re-roll. Okay, 5s, 6s, 3 5s and 6s, but we did get a 1 also. For the sake of things, we might use our second 6 to kill the ice monster, and we'll re-roll these 3. Okay, 2 5s and a 2. We might commit one of our 5s to the ice cave again and hope we can build back up to get an advantage. 2 dice left remaining. Got 3. So he pushed his luck a bit too far then. He could have committed the 4 to there. We've now got 3. It's an additional 1, which we will add there. And we've got to hope possibly that this is a 4 and that will unlock the dice in the center. 4, 5 or 6 and he gets a 2. So with that 2, we're just going to add that 2 to this spot in the ice cave. That's the end of the turn. Both of the creatures were defeated. Go to the discard and we draw a replacement. And we've got the white wolf. Now we've got to be coming up soon to the Master of Shadows. We know he's in the middle of the deck somewhere. Now the Master of Shadows can't be defeated, so he's just going to keep cycling around and you'll see the kind of destruction he can do. So we really need to get on our bike and get these next 3 gems. But White Wolf has come out. There's no monsters on the board for him to trigger. He wouldn't have anyhow because he's only a 1, and he comes out here. Now we lose our grey to the middle. Not too much of a loss because it was a bonus die for us anyhow. Okay, player 2, the adventurer. They've still got their grey dice to roll, so they're rolling 5 die. 2 6s, a 1, a 2 and a 4. Decisions. I think they'll commit that 1 while we've got it and try and get this. Oh, but they did roll a 4 as well. No, I think we'll add the 1. We'll re-roll these 4. So that worked out good. We got 2 4s. We will add those 2 4s over here. We did have the 1 as well. We did have the 1, didn't we? Yeah, I think that's the better option. We'll play the 1. We will push forward a die. Now we've got to decide, do we push forward one of ours and lose ours, or do we push forward one of player 1's? At this point in time, we're probably looking a little bit better than player 1. So player 2 will sacrifice one of their die, and that goes through. These are returned to them. I'm going to re-roll these 3. Okay, 4 5 and a 3. Now we're going to need 4. We're kind of painting ourselves into the same corner as what player 1 did, in that we're pushing our luck. We need to contribute 4 to the vortex to get those dice back, but it will end our turn. But we still have our ability of a re-roll. That's one thing player 1 didn't have. So I think we will commit further with this, and we will place a 4 over on the ice cave. Re-roll these. We get a 6 and a 3. Now the chances of the white wolf firing is very high. It's only a 1. As much as we would love to guarantee getting these back, we need to commit to that 1 and kill that wolf. Re-roll. We get a 2. We're going to use our ability to re-roll 1 roll per turn, and we get the 4, which is perfect. which is on the vortex. So we killed the white wolf. Goes to the discard. We got our 10 or higher on the vortex, which is going to unlock all these die. The grey goes back, but these go back to the players. And I think we're going to need every single one of them. So we'll draw an enemy, and it's the Desert Worm. It's a strength 3. Desert Worm comes out. There's no 1s available in that first column, so it will take a wound. Okay, player 1, the healer. Hasn't used his ability yet, but the way things are tracking, that may be on the cards. We've got 2 6s, a 5, a 3, and a 1. We're going to commit one of our 6s straight to the Desert Worm. We can't take any more damage there. So that was a no-brainer. Okay, 5s, 4s, and a 3. He's going to add his 1 back over to here. Roll the 3s. Gets another 2 1s. So that was the right call. We're going to push through one of these 1s. These 2 come back to us, and we've got 1 die left remaining. And we get a 4, which also requires no thought. It has to go there. Its other option was going on the vortex. We've got nothing in the middle, or, well, we can't add it to here either because the 4 is already taken. So enemy is killed. We're going to remove the enemy. Reveal. I've got the Sand Devil. So Sand Devil's going to come out. It's only a level 1. Again, we've got no 1s there, so it did hurt us. Even though we were lucky enough to get the 1s there to advance, we didn't have them in that first column to protect us from attack. This will only take 2 more hits, and so we really need to either protect it using the healer's ability, or try and get to this last section in the ice cave and reset that back. But it's now the adventurer's turn. Player 2 rolls the die. Okay, so we've got 2 1s. I think we'll add to the board. We've got another 2 1s. So place 1. That advances. It advances again. Now we've got to decide who wants to lock up one of their die. Player 2 will take the bullet for the team. Advance the other one. We unlock a crystal. So we're now at 5 crystals. These are all going to get returned to the players. But player 1 did have an additional 1 they could have placed, so they will start again on the desert spot. We re-roll. 6 and a 1. We need to protect this area over here. So as much as we'd like to add the second 1, the 6 is too much of a guarantee to kill that enemy and protect that desert. I've got 1 more roll, and we get a 3. I think we'll add it over to here in the hope that we can advance this ice cave track, be able to kill an enemy, or at least possibly reset the desert for us, give us a bit more time to get these last 2 crystals. That's the end of player 2's turn. Dice is rolled. We've killed that enemy. We reveal, and bingo, the inevitable happened. The Master of Shadows comes out. Now we go through our list of his possible, what he's going to do, his actions. Have our reminder here off to the side. So all revealed enemies are going to attack. Lucky for us, we've stayed on top of that. We've wiped out all the enemies. We then are going to roll this die here. Now we have a representation of each of the territories. We also have a side that represents all the territories combined, and a blank side. Ideally for us, we want a blank side, because we'll roll this and then I'll explain the ramifications. Yes, blank side, that's what we wanted. Just to give you some idea of what would happen if we hadn't have rolled that. If you roll one of the territory faces, that territory will take 2 damage. If we roll the all territory side, each territory takes 1. So the realities of that was, if we had rolled a desert, it could kill us. So it is a priority. We try and get that desert space down. We can't afford for the Master of Shadows to do 2 damage to the desert. Unfortunately, we can't kill him. He is now going to get shuffled back into the remaining monsters and just keep cycling around and around till the end of the game. Whereas he either kills us or we get across the finish line with these last 2 crystals. Okay, that's the end of the turn. We go back to player 1, the healer. So there's 4 dice to roll. We did get a 1, so we'll try and push for that last crystal. And we will re-roll. Okay, 2 3s and a 5. The 3s aren't going to be much good to us at this point in time, so we will use the 5 just on the ice cave. Okay, so we've got 4. We could decide to take the extra die, but we're going to push on and try and get a 1 or a 6, which 6 is going to be ideal. That's what we're aiming for. A 1 or a 6 could be fantastic. We got a 1. This is the dilemma. Do we add the 1 here to push that across, or do we add it to our 6? We need the crit. As much as we want, this is the race. As much as we want to be able to push the desert space back by this last action, we also need to get these crystals. He's got the 1. He's going to put it in the desert space. He's going to advance one of these. He wants to return player 2's die to them, so he will advance one of his. These 2 come back off the board. He's got 1 die left. Now, he's going to use his ability first time for the game. He's going to forfeit rolling this die and instead protect an area of the board from attack, and he's going to protect the desert. So we draw the card, and luckily for us, we did what we did. The Scorpion comes out. The Scorpion would have required a 1, which we don't have, and thus taken a wound, but because of player 1's ability, he stopped that from happening. Player 2, the Adventurer, 5 die. Okay. I think what we'll do straight up, we'll kill that Scorpion. We don't want that anywhere near us. 6 straight onto that. Roll again. Lucky for us, we got another 6. So we will commit that 6 to the ice cave. So if we took the 5 die now, we would get an additional die to roll both parties for the next turn and kill an enemy. Well, we've already killed the enemy on the board, so we will push on and try and get a 1. And we did. We got the 1. Very happy with that. We're going to trigger that immediately. Both parties have contributed to the ice cave. We're going to take our die back, not the grey. It's going to return back to the cave itself. Because we both contributed though, we do claim an extra die each to roll in the next turn. And because we took the 6, we now could kill an enemy. Well, we've got 1 there. He's already been committed with the die, so he's dead anyhow. But the lucky thing is we get to reset back to the start one of our skulls, and it is a no-brainer. The desert's going to go back. Player 2 still has 2 dice to roll. We get 1 and a 5. 1 to that spot. And we get a 3. I think we'll put the 3 back on here and start building that up again. We return this enemy who is killed back to the deck. We reveal, and it's a cave troll. Cave troll, no enemies to fire off it. It comes out. It's requiring 1 die. It takes our 3 and puts it back to the center. So that was a really good turn by player 2's adventurer. Back to player 1. Got the bonus die. Let's see what we can do. Okay, we've got a 6. I think we'll put the 6 straight on the troll, even though, oh, let's not get too hasty. We've got 2 1s. We'll put as much as he spooks me, we'll get the 2 1s out there. We'll push 1 forward, and the other 2 will go back. Alright. We'll roll the 3 dice remaining to us. We got another 1, so we will add that other 1. Got a 5 and a 2. So I think we'll put the 5 out on the board in the ice cave. Last roll. We could decide to protect an area. Now the only other area that's kind of snaking their way along is the forest. So he might protect that. He might forfeit his roll, use his ability and protect the forest for this turn. Let's reveal the enemy. And good that we did. The wood demon doesn't trigger the cave troll. Would come out himself. Would normally trigger, but doesn't because of the healer's ability. Stop that from happening. Back to player 2, the adventurer. They've got their extra die to roll this once a turn. There we go. So we got no 1s, but we did get a 6, so we'll take out that wood demon straight away. And we will re-roll. Okay, we got 2 4s, which is awesome. We'll add that to our last barrier here and hopefully unlock that last barrier. We will re-roll. Another 4. We'll place that last 4. Unlocks the final barrier. Dice return to the players except for the grey dice, which goes back to the pool. And because we've now cleared all 3, we unlock the penultimate crystal. 1 crystal remaining. Now these reset. We can now work towards unlocking that again. Barriers placed back on the game board. 2 die left. Reroll. A 2 and a 3. We could start working at these again, but we might just head over here and try and go for these 1s. So player 2 will use their ability. They'll do a reroll, and let's see what they get on their once a turn reroll. They did get a 1, which was very good, and now they get 1 more turn, and they got a 3, which I think they'll add to. It's going to take a long while to get that last crystal through here. We basically have to accumulate 12 die, whereas our quickest bet here, we only need 1 more 1 to push that forward, so he'll add his 3 to there. Alright, that's the end of player 2's turn. We're going to reveal our enemy. Oh, we'll just get rid of this. It's out of the game. Reveal. Vampire bats. Doesn't trigger the troll, but will take a wound on the fortress. Player 1. 3 dice to roll. Gets the 1, which advances. Fills the 2nd. We advance again. We get the last crystal. And that wins us the game. So we did pretty good. We only had a handful of creatures left in the deck itself. We managed to work our way through the enemy deck rather well. That's the run through. So that's Roll for Adventure. I hope you'd enjoyed this. If so, please like and possibly subscribe. And until next time.